Hi everyone, I'm Debs Cunis and I'm one of the principal business psychologists in the consultancy team at ETS. And what I wanted to talk about today was just a question that I'm hearing a lot from some of our existing clients around performance management. So the questions that we're typically hearing are things like, what's new in performance management? What's trending in appraisals? What are the things that we need to be doing as an organisation around PM? So what I want to share is what I'm hearing and seeing, and my own evaluation of that information, really. Essentially, in a nutshell, there are no completely new or groundbreaking approaches in performance management from looking at the research and from speaking to a number of our clients and associates. But let's think about what we've been seeing over the past decade or so, what's been driving such changes and where we are now, and hopefully that'll be helpful for you. So a few years ago, we started to hear about some then really radical shifts in how organisations were thinking about performance management. And that basically involved moving away from the traditional once a year appraisal or check-in, stripping away that rigidity of the process and then moving towards something that's much more fluid or always on, which might be a term that you're familiar with. And as you might expect, there were industry leaders and disruptors such as Google and Netflix, who were all at the forefront of this and were very public about their own turnaround in approach and the culture that they needed to enable that to happen. And it all sounded pretty exciting. So lots of other businesses have now sort of been moving forward in that direction. But it's actually just not quite as straightforward as that, as I'm sure you'd imagine. So it sounds great in principle, but actually making sure that we've got the right tools, the right systems, the right processes, the right culture, the right people skills in place to support such a massive shift can actually be quite a challenge and take some time. And we know and we've seen firsthand that high performance is much more likely to be driven where there's a culture of trust and comfort with timely and open feedback. So the prize is actually really high for those businesses that can achieve it and have what they need in place to support it. But we also have to make sure that we are organisationally ready for that change and that people have what they need to operate within a model of performance management that relies on regular, meaningful conversations and check-ins along the course of the year. And if there's one thing that we know that lots of employees, managers and leaders can find very difficult, it's having those conversations. So manager readiness is something that is totally key to this whole process. And the old chestnuts that we're hearing around people knowing how to give feedback well, but also feel ready to receive it, emotional intelligence, coaching skills, and those difficult conversations. The skill required to complete all of that well is fairly high, and it's something that's also fairly lacking in a lot of the organisations that you might see. So the question that I'm hearing from my existing clients and potential new clients around what's new in performance management and what's trending, I think that's actually maybe the wrong question to be asking. I think maybe the right question is actually what approach is right for our business right now and how can we set ourselves up for success in the future in terms of where we're heading to aspirationally. How do we create a culture of trust where people can give and receive feedback on the fly, and that supports a performance management process that we want to move to. And I think in getting to that answer, maybe some useful questions to ask ourselves might be, firstly, what is it that we're trying to achieve through this change in performance management process? If we really hold the mirror up and challenge ourselves, is this something that we are doing because everybody else is, or is it something that we think is going to yield results that we need as a business? What's the problem that we're trying to solve? I think the second thing we need to be asking ourselves is, okay, with that in place, what support do we need to give our people to realise this vision, to enable us to implement this successfully? So things around, feedback skills training, coaching training, emotional intelligence development training. What does a good check-in actually look like? How do we have these conversations? Upskilling our people around that is also an area that we work in. And thirdly, do we need a system to support the approach? So is relying on a fluid feedback culture enough, or do we need some technology to support us in the process? Now, don't get me wrong, there are traditional approaches to performance management, and although they have their flaws, they do still very much have their place in a lot of organisations globally in terms of providing a structure and a rhythm for employees. And many organisations still adopt that same approach and it works for them. But I think what it doesn't do and what it can't do is encourage the development of a culture of trust or a climate where people feel comfortable to talk to each other on the fly, give each other performance related feedback and take that on board to further their own and maximise their own performance as well. And really all of that lends itself to, I guess, pushing performance to its upper limits. And that's what we're interested in doing. So there's opportunity here, absolutely no doubt, for pushing performance through thinking about your performance management process and how that works in your organisation. But I think if it's worth doing properly, like anything. So we mustn't try and rush it because that's what the disruptors in the industry are doing. We have to find something fit for purpose and right for the culture of our own businesses. I think trying to chase the latest innovation could actually end up having the opposite impact on performance, which obviously isn't what we want. So I hope that's just been a useful sort of download of where I am on that topic. And if it's something you're thinking about at the moment, we support at ETS around that in a number of different ways, which is why we have a number of different perspectives on it. So if you want any more info, please do get in touch. Otherwise, I'll leave you to have hopefully a really great day.